Thanks to the support as a channel member, Grant Charman. Well, here we go then, boys and girls. Burton back in League One, where we're supposed to be. We've got an absolute ton of money to spend, and this is our first summer transfer window in the job. If we don't put together a team that's just going to charge on towards the championship, then apparently I'm not as good at Football Manager as I thought I was. Hello, welcome to Club 2, Part 7 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode is our season review and transfer special after our promotion back to League One with Burton last season. And we are kicking things off with that season review, which for the first time in this year's Non-League to Legend save doesn't have any trophies on it, which is very sad. We did enjoy having trophies on that every time, but we'll fly through this because some of this isn't necessarily appropriate to me because obviously I joined roughly halfway through the season, but did do the signing of the season. Finn Azaz has come in as signing of the season. 17 appearances, 7 goal contributions. I mean, he was fantastic, Finn Azaz, and definitely a player that is going to be a key part of our team going forward into this season. The media were predicting, or the board were looking for us to get a top half finish. Obviously, pre-season, they were looking for automatic promotion. I joined with us down in mid-table. They would have been happy for me to just finish top half in my first season at the club, despite giving me £5 million to spend. Not having any of that. We pushed on and achieved the original start of season objective, finishing third for automatic promotion, 4 points behind the club we left, Tamworth. So we're going to have our local derby with Tamworth, the LOLLUJO derby in League One next season, which is going to be jolly good. Biggest win of the year was 7-0. That was actually my second game in charge, and it was all downhill from there, apparently. And financially, everything's a little bit down on last season. Bear in mind, last season, this club were in League One. This was a League Two season, so everything does drop down a little bit. We are going to be back into League One next year. Nearly £5 million worth of sponsorship a season for a League Two. No wonder they gave me £5 million to spend. I need to check that. That can't be right, surely. That feels like an insane amount of sponsorship for a club at this level. Top shirt seller was Andrew, and this was our team of the year. And I think we are probably going to move back to this formation over the course of the summer. The only reason we moved away from this is because all of our wingers got injured and we had several good strikers, lots of good central midfielders, but we're obviously going to be doing a nice big squad rebuild this summer. And I think I miss wingers too much. We were having far too much fun with this setup with Tamworth, and I think we are going to look to get back to this. But most of those players are probably going to be part of the team next season. A lot of them were League One standard anyway. They were players who were at the club when they got relegated. We just need to fill the gaps with the right players. Smith wants to leave, and Nimsik is not a winger, so obviously we need a couple of wingers there. We've already got Stewart as a striker who can start ahead of Stockton. Azaz and Andrew can share that role. Harper and Powell are fine there. We just need backups for them. Hughes has already gone and Tompkinson wants to go, so we're going to need some new centre-backs. And we're pretty well done depth-wise at fullback as well. Maybe another goalkeeper would be nice. But bearing in mind the amount of money we've got to spend, there's not a huge amount that needs to be done to this squad. Joe Powell won Fans Player of the Year. Tompkinson, Young Player of the Year. Azaz, as we know, was signing of the season. Powell also finished top scorer with 15 goals. Bearing in mind, for a lot of the season, he was playing as a defensive midfielder as well. Shows just how good he is. He also got 11 assists, 5 Man of the Match awards. He's quite good for this level of football. Averaged a 7.1 over the course of the season. And also broke our club record. Remember, these are club records since the save began, but Powell with 15 goals is the highest goal scorer in a season Burton have had in 3 seasons of the non-league to legend universe. Really does indicate where the long-term problem has been for this football club. They need to learn to score goals, and that's definitely a thing that we are going to be looking to do this coming season. So if we finish that up, I do just want to jump into finances and check that sponsorship stuff is right, because that's insane. And they're all such long. We're pretty much guaranteed £5 million a year in sponsorship for years. No wonder we are laughing. And I don't think that sponsorship money's come in yet. It comes in. Can we see the date of where the spike is? That's the sponsorship money coming in every year. So we're still waiting for that spike to come in any time now. And we've already got £3.2 million of transfer budget, loads of spare wage budget. Obviously, we have the flexibility to move this around. and play with that as we need to. I've never really been one to spend a lot of money on transfers below the championship level, so I'm going to try and do as much as I can on free transfers. So I think we are going to be leaning more in that direction than towards transfer budget. But one thing to bear in mind at the EFL level, certainly League One, League Two, is the FFP regulations over player wage expenditure. In League Two, the most we could spend is 115,000. That's 115,000 per week on qualifying players. Under 21 homegrown players don't count towards that. So if we sign lots of young players, we don't need to fit them within our wage budget. I'm not sure if that changes when we go up to League One. That was based on the League Two regulation. So once the season ticks over, that's something to focus on before we just go out and spend a load of money on wages and get ourselves in trouble and end up with a transfer embargo. But that aside, that's the plan. Free transfers, probably. Actually, team-wise, there's a few players, like we say, who want to leave. Tom Hamer, we probably will give a new contract to because his long throws are so useful that I think we have to keep him around. But Paul Smith still wants to leave because we got relegated, despite the fact we've been promoted again. So he's obviously not too sharp, so we'll move him on. And Tompkinson wants to leave to play in the better division. I'd like to keep him around. He's 6'4", and you can't teach that. So maybe he'll change his mind. I mean, he's American, bless him. He perhaps doesn't understand what's going on when he realises that getting promoted means we literally are going to play in a better division. Maybe he'll decide to stay then. So we won't push him out just yet, either of them, because hopefully once it ticks over, they'll both calm down and be happy. But we're generally okay on the team cohesion, club atmosphere stuff. And then if we have a look at our squad, you can see it pretty much lines up with what I was saying before. We need another goalkeeper. We probably need some competition to Ross Stewart. I don't think Cole Stockton at 32 years old is a player that we want to be giving a lot of game time to in League One next year. Andrew can play wide if needed. Azaz and Andrew can share this role. We probably need one or two more wingers just to make sure that we don't have to revert back to that diamond again. But it's a pretty strong squad throughout. And with the amount of money that we've got, we should be able to make this into a squad that should take League One by storm. The last time we were in League One, obviously we were relegated. The year before, with a lot of the players similar to the ones we've got now, it was a 14th place finish. And having now been to see Burton play in real life, I know that there's a lot of players still at this squad who are there in real life at the moment. So it's not a million miles away from the team that finished mid-table in League One a couple of years ago. I think with the right additions, we could do a back-to-back promotion. And we do like getting promoted in this year's Non-League to Legend. It's kind of my thing. And there you go. Just a few days later, the new sponsor, all of the sponsorship stuff comes in. We've actually got a new stadium stand sponsor, but that massive pile of cash has now hit our club bank balance. It seems insane the amount of money we're making from sponsorships, but I am absolutely not going to argue. This works for me. We've also put our ticket prices up, which seems a little bit cheeky for a team that's just getting back to where we were previously. But that's going to bump up our annual ticket price, money, income, sentences, English language. And let's just make sure that we are scouting sensibly. We don't need to go absolutely nuts with this. We're a League One team. UK and Ireland is fine. So we're not going to need to spend all of that scouting budget. So we can even move some of that across into transfer budget if we need to. It's the sort of thing that I don't think we're necessarily even going to need to do just yet. But there is certainly money flowing around this football club. And bearing in mind, we trade at St George's Park as well. There's no excuses, really. This should be a team that we can take to the top half of the championship at the very least, whether or not we get headhunted or not in the meantime. But certainly there's at least one more promotion in this team because it's set up so well off the pitch. We've just got another £500,000 solidarity payment. The money just keeps on flowing. It's a different world from what we were experiencing with Tamworth. Absolutely bonkers. We're allowed some new coaching staff as well, which we're going to need. We did put together a good coaching staff. There was none here when we arrived, but the staff we've put together is pretty solid. Les Ferdinand as director of football and former Posh assistant manager Kevin Rooster Russell were the headline signings, but we can add in one more coach by the looks of it. Whiteman has won the League Two Golden Glove Award as best goalkeeper. I've won Manager of the Year. as I should. Got 2 teams promoted. Les Ferdinand's delighted about it. And now I guess we're just kind of waiting. There you go. We've even got a loan manager. Of all the things we didn't need, but we've got so much money, we might as well have one. We're just kind of going to wait for the 1st of July now, unless something spectacular happens in the meantime. We're just waiting for free transfer day. Oh, we just have a little gift from Past Kev, who's provided us with some Premier League youngsters who I clearly forgot that we had already arranged were coming in. So these are the guys who you get in that email that are that comes through towards the end of the season. Players who are being released by Premier League clubs. And, you know, we like a few of these every now and again. So we've got Lewis Cherrett, who is a striker who can also play on the right wing. I mean, to be honest, at 6'2" with decent pace, I already like the look of Lewis Cherrett. He's 2-star current ability, 4-star potential, probably not ready to go straight into the first team, but did score 2 goals from 2 substitute appearances for Newcastle in the Premier League this season. So this kid has got goals in him. I am intrigued, and I don't really know why Newcastle released him, but he's come in. We've got Blaine Chambers-Shaw, who is an 18-year-old England under-19 international left-back, 2 stars of current ability, 4-star potential for him. He comes in from Liverpool. And then Jack Clayton is an 18-year-old right winger who can also play left wing or up front. He's another one who's nice and quick, and he comes in from Arsenal. So those 3 boys are in, which will help us with our signing players under the age of 23 goal that we've not come close to meeting so far, because most of the players we brought in back in January were old men. And I think we still have that on as a Club Vision requirement. Yeah, sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. They're very disappointed. We've just brought 3 of them in. I don't know that they're necessarily straight away for the first team. They are only 18, but they're pretty useful, pretty decent. And now we just need to continue waiting for free transfer day. How good is Cherrett compared to what we've got? Niemzik's going to be leaving. Stockton's probably going to be leaving. I feel like I really want to use this guy. I think he needs to be one of my main men, maybe even a backup to Stewart. Although with Stewart's injury record, you probably need a more first team ready backup than an 18-year-old. We probably need Stewart, Cherrett, and then one more somewhere in between the 2. And I think it could even be Cole Stockton. He could even stick around for 1 more year. We shall see. One player who's not going to be sticking around is Hamer, who's turned down the new contract they offered him. He wanted insane money. I can't even find him. Where is he? So at 26, and despite having that excellent long throw, we've set him for release. He is going to be on his way out of the club after 6 years as a Burton player, but just wanted absolutely stupid money. We have given Joe Powell stupid money as part of a contract renewal. He wanted £9,000 a week, and he's actually worth it. Hamer, not so much. Although I guess he looks at Darnell Furlong on £8,500 and is like, well, I can have that. No, you can't. No, you can't, because Furlong can do a decent long throw as well. So we're not even necessarily losing the long throw ability by letting Hamer leave. So Hamer's going to leave. Unless I change my mind. I've got 3 weeks before his contract runs out. Just to demonstrate that I'm not completely losing my mind with thinking that Burton have got an incredible amount of sponsorship. League 2 in total generated just under £18 million. We generated, as one club, in League 2, just under 5 million. So almost a third of all sponsorship revenue in League 2 last season came to Burton. Our 4.8 million contrasts to Gateshead's £80,000 in sponsorship that they were able to make. The average amount of money for clubs in League 2 from sponsorship, 750,000. I don't know why. If anyone could explain to me in the comments if that's an actual thing from real life or if that's just a weird Football Manager thing that's happened, let me know. But we have also increased our stature, which is jolly good as well. We are just continuing to continue. We're a week away now from free transfer day. We're trying to get a few players out of the club. As you can see, we're also trying to get someone to make an offer for Cole Stockton, but no one seems that interested. And then we will start making some moves of our own once we get around to free transfer day. One player we are trying to bring in before then is this guy who came up on my scout report, Lewis Jackson, or Louis, who is, I mean, absurdly good compared to everyone else that we've got. He's a centre-back from Manchester United. I don't know why he came up on my scout report, but he's interested in coming in on loan. We'd only have to pay 80% of his salary, which is less than £3,000 a week for a guy who's got a transfer value of between 18 and 23 million pounds. If we can get this guy on loan, that's a nice little start to life in League One for us. And there you go. He is in. That is a new starting centre-back for us, a potentially Premier Division standard centre-back who presumably has just come straight in as to be our best player at the club. Yeah, we've just signed a player better than everyone else at the club on loan for the season. I don't know how. I don't know why he was available to come to us. I mean, I guess he was at Fleetwood a couple of years ago, so it's not completely unheard of for him to come in, but he is so much better than everyone else that we've got. That is bonkers. I'm very happy with that. One thing I want to check now that we've tipped over into League One is the FFP stuff. The club needs to reduce the current player wage total by 2.2k per week in order to pass the league. See, this is what I was going to check. So our actual amount that we're allowed to spend on wages has actually gone down off the back of our promotion. Well then, that's problematic. Why has it got... I think it is a percentage of income, and I mean, I guess sponsorship income doesn't count towards it because our sponsorship income is awesome. But if it's based on gate receipts, obviously our gate receipts are pathetic. And yeah, that's not ideal at all because that leaves us with very little wiggle room without moving some players on. Tomkinson, I think he's going to have to head out the door. In fact, now we've moved up a league, Tomkinson still wants to play in a better division. So he's on £8,000 a week. Let's... No one's interested. Brilliant. Please, somebody come and buy him. Does someone want to come and buy him? We could do with moving him on and potentially some of these other guys as well, because I would like to be able to do some transfers. The other option we have got, the risky option, is to absolutely disregard this and just get in the championship in 1 year, and then I don't think it matters. Failure to comply will result in the following sanction. A transfer embargo will be imposed. Club finances will be monitored, with restrictions remaining in place until the club can show its finances improved enough for it to be able to meet future financial fair play regulations. So basically, if you fail it, you go under transfer embargo until you pass it. But obviously, if you get promoted, the rules are different for FFP in the championship, and at that level, it becomes about profit, I think, rather than about wage cap. That would be very risky, though. So we probably shouldn't do it the risky way. Right, so we've made it through to the night before it's free transfer eve. The night before, we have sold a couple of players since you last saw. Kegs Chalk has gone to Portsmouth for £64,000, and we've also sold Jaden Williams to Barnsley for £34,000. And those two leaving, along with the players who've been released at the end of their contracts. So Oshilaya, Hamer, Niemczyk, they're the main ones. All of that means that this FFP thing, less of an issue now than it was before. It's £110,000 a week is our limit. We're now around 100,000 of qualifying players. I need to clarify the rule of the homegrown thing. Does that mean homegrown at club or just homegrown in England? Because if we can just focus on bringing in under 21 players, we'll be absolutely fine. Players with contract lengths of 3 years or more, if the club are relegated from we weren't relegated from the championship. That needs more clarification. Because we are spending £115,000 a week, but 15,000 of that is not being counted. So let's try and sleuth it out. If we I guess, is that all of these kids? Does that add up to 15,000? No, it doesn't. Nowhere near. Have we got anyone else who's homegrown at club? No. Right. I think under 18's homegrown at nation. So do those players add up to 15,000? With the youth players, probably. So it's homegrown in nation. So as long as we're signing under 21s they're not going to count towards that salary cap. So let's focus on that then. Oh, this is proving to be so much trickier than I thought. It's occurred to me just how long it's been since I've had to manage at this level. Normally, we go from non-league, maybe a season, half a season in League Two, all the way to the Championship, and we never have to manage in League One. Managing in League One's really hard. I literally can't spend all this money that I've got. We have maxed out our wage budget. If you have a look at FFP, we cannot spend any more money on players over 21. Despite having all of this money around the squad. This is how I've maxed it out, if we actually get to the right season. So he's a youngster. He didn't help max it out. He's a youngster. I've brought in some youngsters. He's a youngster. He didn't help max it out. I've literally signed one guy. Filip Stefanovic is a Serbian winger who can play on either wing, 23 years old, only 2.5 stars of current ability, but take that with a pinch of salt. That new defender we signed from Man United has ruined everybody's ability star ratings in our squad because he's so much better than everybody else in the league. And I still don't know how we got him. So he's actually a decent, a leading League Two player who could become a leading League One player, which seems fine to me. But he's on $6,000 a week, and that pretty much maxes us out. Our squad's so small. We've got a squad of 21 players. There are a number of them who are 18-year-olds who I don't really want to have to use, but I think we're going to have to use them. And that's it. We're maxed out. We've used our 2 ESC spots. Lonwick, who is already here, has got one of them, and Stefanovic, who's just brought in, has just come in, has got the other one. So we can't bring in any more foreign players, and we can't bring anyone in over the age of 21. Which leaves, I mean, it's tricky. We still don't really have a replacement left back. We've downgraded in that area because Samuels was here last year and wasn't starting. But he's currently going to be our starting left back. We've only got one goalkeeper at the club. He is the League Two goalkeeper of the year, but we obviously need at least one more. I would like someone to sign Cole Stockton. Nobody wants to. I would like somebody to sign Jonathan Tompkinson, particularly because he's on $8,000 a week. But nobody wants to. I would like someone to sign Paul Smith, but nobody wants to. So we've got 15 grand a week's worth of wages there on players we don't really want. Finn Azaz has told me he's leaving on a free transfer at the end of the season. And we've not really improved the squad yet. It's the 10th of July. The season starts on the 1st of August. So we've got about 3 weeks until the season starts. And I would suggest our squad is not quite as good as it was last year. All that being said, the media think we're going to finish 4th. So clearly the players that we've got are a solid foundation for taking this league by storm. And I mean, you do have to take into account, obviously, Ross Stewart, far too good for League Two last year. He's probably a player who should be playing in the Championship, not even League One. So he obviously is going to be a very good player if we can keep him fit. The same with Andrin, Joe Powell, who we've given that expensive new contract to. These are all players who could comfortably be playing in the Championship. Smith, if we can get his head right, will be fine. Lonwick, Burke, Long, these are all players. Tompkinson, they're all players who you could use as squad players in the Championship. Finn Azaz goes in that category as well. Whiteman, I mean, all the way down really to Stefanovic, who we've just brought in. They are players who could play for us in the Championship. So we've got a good core, and then we've got some young players, and then you just got the standouts of the likes of Leonard, Samuel, Stockton, who are a little bit older, so their wages count, but we're probably not going to use them. So if anyone wants them, they can have them, and then we can bring in more youngsters. We're looking at loans now. We're trying to bring in some loans. We've got another loan defender we're going to try and bring in, but we are thinking in terms of loans under the age of 21. There's not a lot there, but I've asked my director of football for some recommendations. We're now scouting those. Obviously, we've got nearly 2 months until the window closes, so it's not disastrous. It's just so much harder than I expected it to be because I thought, oh, we've got all that money. We'll just throw the money around and we'll be fine. Turns out, can't do that in League One. And it turns out 21-year-olds don't count as under 21 either, because we've just tried to sign this guy, Benji Purcell, despite him having a first name that screams will never be any good in Football Manager. Tried to bring him in on loan and can't, because of the FFP regulation thing. The board won't let me break our FFP regulation. So 21-year-olds, we can't have. So they have to be 20 or younger, which makes things even harder. I mean, we don't need another centre-back. So few of these are under 21. I mean, there's this guy, Carlos Richards, who is a winger from Derby. I mean, it would be a sensible loan. It makes sense for us to bring in a player from Derby, but I genuinely don't know if he improves us. But I guess it's handy to have. Are you kidding? He's 20. He doesn't count towards that, does he? I don't understand. Where's that other guy? Can we not pay his salary and do it as right? We need a calculator. So they want £650 per week, which equates to £2,500 a month. Can we do this as transfer fee? Can we get around it this way? Because we've got money. We're just not allowed to spend it. So can we do that? If we say no, nothing there. We might have a way to get around this, boys and girls. Two things I've learnt here. One, our set-piece coach was called James Bond, and I've only just noticed. And two, he might be on his way to Leeds. Obviously, we have to try and keep James Bond here to be our set-piece coach, because that's ridiculous. That should be on the list of names that the game's not able to generate. But that's why we're so good at set pieces, because we've got James Bond. We are trying to bring in loans. We've brought in a few. We are making a bit of a difference. We did get Benji Purcell, who's going to come in as a new holding midfield player for us as part of those two DMs that we sit in front of the back four. This guy seems like a great signing. Gabriel Biancheri is a Welsh full international, 3 caps for the full Wales national team, 9 under 21 caps. Never scored a goal for any of those teams, but he's a striker who can also play out on the right wing, probably better as a winger than a striker, but we'll definitely be using him interchangeably. He can be that backup player for Stuart, and also a decent starting winger for us as well. So lots of use likely to be got out of him. And then we've also got a goalkeeper, because we only had one at the club. Jack Wint is a 19-year-old goalkeeper, 5-star potential, so future championship goalkeeper, on loan from Manchester City. He was at Rochdale last year on loan. We have had to agree to start him, which we're not going to do. So there's a very good chance he gets recalled in January and we have to bring in another one. But that feels like a future Kev problem, because at the moment we're maxed out. We can't. It is so frustrating having all this money and not being able to do anything with it. Our best 11 currently, according to the game at least, looks like that. I suspect for me it looks a little bit more. Where's Stuart? It looks a little bit more like that, or maybe even that. I probably don't need to make any changes further back. I think that's pretty solid what we've got there, but we do have lots of options that we can move around and try different things in the attack. Like I say, we've got a core of 14 or 15 really good players for this level. The media still think we are looking good for promotion push, but then you've got the likes of Plymouth who've just signed Liam Delap. We're in a league where Liam Delap is here as a permanent signing. They're paying him 16 grand a week. I feel like there's not a level playing field. Here's me moaning, poor old Tamworth. What have they got up to this summer? I mean, they're not going to have the same restrictions I've had, that's for sure, because their wage budget is likely to be a lot easier to work within the hours based on the players that they've got. I've fallen off the favoured personnel list here as well, which feels awfully harsh after back-to-back promotions, but I guess I did move down the road to their rivals and I've kind of left them in the lurch. They're going to go straight back down this season. Of that, I am fairly confident. But please, let me spend this money. There's a few days until the season starts. We still need another left-back. I would love to be... I want to spend the money. Well, we've brought in one more player before the season starts. Harry Barbrook is a left-back who is rubbish, but he was cheap. He's in on loan. And, I mean, we needed a third left-back in the squad just in case. So he's in. I don't anticipate ever using him, but he's here. That is 5 loans in the squad now. I have checked the rules around loans. It's seemingly allowed an unlimited amount of loans, although there are limits on players from the same clubs and foreign loans. loans and over 22 loans, but actual loans in general, I don't think there's a limit on. The one limit is we're only allowed 5 loans in the match day squad. We now have 5 loans at the club. They're not all going to be in the matchday squad because that left back's not going to play. So we're not completely, the door's not closed on more signings at this point just yet. But that is the squad we're taking into the season. So Barbrook is in. We've sent George Marlowe, one of the youngsters who we brought in on a free transfer. He's gone out on loan to Fylde to play in the National League North this season. And this is what our full squad view looks like. So best player comfortably is Jackson, the new centre-back. He'll play alongside one of the guys who was already here. Interestingly as well, there is a young centre-back of our own who's emerged, Toby Oakes, who came through our youth system, was out on loan at Halifax last year. So I never had the pleasure with Toby Oakes. But he looks like he's got some decent potential. Not ready yet at 2 stars, but he is homegrown at the club and worth paying attention to, I would suggest. We're much stronger in the attack than we are in the defence. And that's kind of a thing that you have to take into account in League One, I guess, because these financial restrictions, I don't think it's possible to have a balanced squad. I now realise, as a Peterborough fan, why our squad is always so lopsided and unbalanced. It's because it has to be, because if you're going to have really good players in one area, it means you really are going to have the budget options in other areas. I get it now. Hopefully we can sell some players at some point, but the players that we'd like to sell are on so much money. I mean, I was really ruined by Tompkinson having a match highest earner clause, which we did manage to get out of him, but it involved giving him another new contract on the new money. So he's earning far too much money for what he actually is. Joe Powell, if I'd have realised the pickle we were in, I might not have given him as much money. I'm kind of regretting Furlong at this point as well. Mark Lennon's on far too much money. There are a few boys here who, if I'd have realised quite how much of a challenge this was going to be, wouldn't be here or wouldn't be earning the kind of money that they're earning. But we have got a team together for the first day of the new season, which will be tomorrow's episode. Fitness and injury problems means it's not close to what I would consider my first choice. Smith is injured again. He's going to miss the first 3 weeks of the season. Furlong, Azaz and Biancheri not really fit to start the season either. So we are going to be giving the youngster Jack Clayton, the young 18-year-old who came in from Arsenal, did play 2 times for Arsenal in the Premier League last year. He's going to actually be starting the first game of the season. I think it's a strong side. The left back is slightly downgraded, but other than that, it's a strong side. The media thinks it's going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. We've got a tough start. Barnsley and QPR as our first 2 matches. QPR are expected to run away with the league. Barnsley in a promotion chase as well. So we're going to learn a lot in tomorrow's episode about if we're any good or not. But if you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.